Hi, my name is Gazpacho, but you can call me Sir. And have you ever been in this situation?
I have autism.
Great! Then I have a solution for you. Well, might I introduce the nondescript media sharing website. On this nondescript media sharing website, you can do everything you want to do except for things you can't do. No bomb tutorials for you. Wow! Finally, with this groundbreaking invention, you can break ground with an invention. But wait! If you're interested, call now at 140331415689434. Call now and we will appreciate you calling now. Call now!
Hello! As of now, I have been making YouTube videos for 3 years. And man, has it been an experience. Ever since I was younger, watching people like Scott the Woz or Arlo, I've always wanted to make my own YouTube channel. And now that I finally do have my own channel with my small itsy bitsy community, it feels like I'm finally doing what I've always wanted to do. And if trends are correct, you want to be one too. So today, I'm going to tell you how I make YouTube videos and give you some pretty good tips if you want to follow suit. So how does one do what I do? Stealing, of course. The very foundations of a channel, regardless of what you want to do, from discussion to reviews to analysis to gaming to animation, all have one thing in common: style. The closest thing you're getting to a YouTube channel without style is something like those crappy AI videos that tell Bible passages or something. Everybody has their own unique little spark that makes their channel their own. If you're a gaming channel, not everybody plays the same way. If you're a sketch comedy channel, not everybody makes the same jokes. If you're a video essay channel, not everybody's gonna waste your time for 3 hours the same way. Everybody does things differently, and that's what's beautiful about art. No two things are gonna be exactly the same, in the same way that no two channels are the same. So before you start making YouTube videos, you should think about what you even want to do. And even then, don't be afraid to change what you're doing, if you decide your choice isn't really you. I'll use myself as an example, as I will do a few more times throughout this video. When I first started out on November 13th of 2021, I wanted to make montages, specifically Rivals of Aether workshop montages. Rivals of Aether is a fighting game that has a bunch of silly dumb characters you can find on the Steam Workshop for anybody that's not in the know. And I wanted that to be my gimmick. The gimmick for every video I uploaded ever. Yeah, these videos suck, no surprise there. But the more I made of these, the more I wanted to branch out. I would upload random stuff like me being in a Rhythm Heaven minigame. And eventually I decided this isn't for me. And I went down the path that would lead me to where I am now. Media analysis slash video essay slash comedy slash I don't even know what to call this at the point we're at. And that's my style. I just like talking about things I find cool or interesting or despise. It's great. I've always loved just talking about things I watch or play, and with this channel, I can do that. And you can too. The point I'm getting at here is just do whatever, really. Even if you don't have a defined style, that will become your style. Brian David Gilbert is literally anything concise about what he uploads. No, and that's what makes him special. There are very few YouTubers like BDG, but of course, like everybody who gets inspired, you probably won't have a super defined style starting out. That's just kind of how inspiration goes. Whatever art you make is just a hodgepodge of different ideas stolen from other people. Currently, with how I create, I would consider myself to be mostly inspired by YouTubers like That Trav Guy, Noodle, and of course, Scott the Woz. I don't think I'm ever breaking those chains. Of course, whatever you end up choosing, you will suck at. I'm sorry, it's cut and dry. You will suck. No getting around it. Making videos is just like every other form of art. It is a skill that needs to be honed. And frankly, you will never stop getting better if you keep working at it. Recently, I've been trying to learn how to draw, and I can certifiably say I absolutely reek at doing it. But no matter how bad I suck at it, I'm gonna keep trying because I know I can do better. Same thing goes with YouTube. So you want to know my best advice for starting out? It isn't unique. I'm not the first person to say this, and you'll probably get told this a billion times, but just start doing stuff. It's going to blow, and there's no way it won't. But I think that's kind of the beauty about creating art. It's that you can look back at your older stuff and go, this stinks. I'll even feel that about videos I've made not that long ago. My first 3-hour-long video, Enter the Gungeon, a Gunyomentary, I can look back and admit this kind of sucks. My audio is all over the place. I feel like I could have spent a bit longer talking about certain things like Exit the Gungeon, and my deliveries with a lot of stuff don't really land. But it's a rewarding feeling that I can look back at stuff like that and say the stuff I'm making now, in my opinion, is better. Even more recent videos I've made, I can say that stuff about. About 20 minutes into me talking about the game Shovel Knight Dig, I flip everything I had set up to that point and talk about why it actually sucks. And I think it would have been a lot better if I just went back and re-scripted that entire Shovel Knight Dig part instead of flip-flopping like that. Or my Minecraft versus Terraria video just gets so much shit wrong. Like, this is one part where I give it a really cool example of a weapon Minecraft could add, not realizing they added that exact same weapon in the update I'm playing. Do you want an even better example of that exact same thing? This isn't the first time I've made this video. I made this exact thing 2 years ago on this date and it fucking blew. If I never made the stuff back then that I'm not proud of, I could have never gotten to the point where I'm making stuff I am proud of. So the best advice I can give to you in this video will be just do stuff. I think Plato said that. Right, so that's pretty much general advice if you want to make any form of content. From here on out, it's just going to be talking about what I do, and the type of videos I like to make. So if you want to do what I do, like the stupid little idea sponge you are, then stick around. I like to break down making my videos into steps. Writing, filming, recording, editing, and uploading. Let's go step by step here, shall we? Starting off with writing. If we are being technical, I don't write my videos. You see, I have dyslexia, and a lot of times when I'm typing, I'll think I wrote down a word, when in reality I didn't. So what I like to do is use my phone's talk-to-text option and just speaking into my phone what I want to write down. So to all of those who question how I got an hour-long video out in 2 weeks, here's your answer. Feel free to glance behind the curtain all you want. This isn't a magic cheat code to writing though. Yes, this lets you do it pretty dang fast, and you can get a lot of words out in a short amount of time. But most talk-to-text features aren't really concerned with what text you're talking. It is extremely prone to messing up and not getting a lick of what you just said, which means when I'm recording a few steps later, I'll be squinting and questioning on earth what I even meant half the time. Other drawbacks, my throat really hurts. I make jokes like that sometimes in my videos, but I hope you understand I mean it most of the time. Scripting like this essentially means you'll be reading out what's on the page at least twice. And another big drawback is you kind of have to be talking in order to script, which obviously is not even an option for some people, but also is just kind of hard to do when you're in a noisy area, or one where you can't talk into a screen as easily. Internet cafes, at a library, anywhere you would think you might want to write that isn't home is kind of inaccessible. And finally, it'll only really recognize well-known words. If the word you're trying to write down is not very common or is a name from a show or something, there is a very good chance it'll just flub up and do its own thing. Case in point, in Has Been Hotel, there's a character named Vaggie. Talk-to-text f***ing hates this name, so it'll just make up words in order to fill the void of what it thinks you're saying. So in my script for the video I made about the show, it's completely unintelligible what I'm trying to say most of the time. Thankfully, the only contributors to my channel are usually just thumbnail artists, which I'll get to later. But if you're somebody who has ghostwriters or other people who read your scripts, and they aren't in the know, you'll probably have to go back and correct stuff like that all the time. Also, something I didn't write down that happened later when I was scripting, anytime I would bring up Scott the Woz, it would say stuff like got the walls. And one final thing I just thought of, it's kind of service dependent, so if your Wi-Fi or service is bad and you want to write, you kind of can. The only real appeal is if your eyes are stupid and don't want to function like mine, or you want to cheat and don't feel like physically writing. Most of the time, I'm willing to look past all that stuff in the pursuit of speed and making them somewhat legible. If you want evidence, I wrote this entire script in a day and a half. But if you don't have my silly little problems, then just script things on your computer or something. But me personally, how I like to write most of the time is, as soon as I've gotten an idea, I'll start pacing around the house or just walking around in circles outside while talking to my handbrick. I mean, hey, it just beats sitting there for hours and writing, am I right? What I typically use when I want to commit to paper, or I guess in this case, screen, is the free Samsung Notes app on my phone. If you're an Apple user, there's probably some kind of equivalent to this. But I've sat on this Android fence my entire life and I'm not too terribly interested in moving. But if you are an Android user, there's a huge perk to this app for me specifically. Right at the top of the screen, you can choose which color text will be in. That might not sound like it's the most important thing in the world, but for my videos specifically, it is. You see, if you're accustomed to my videos, you're probably used to me popping on screen to say some random shababble about whatever the video topic is or transition into another topic. But to save me some time when I'm filming, I'll use different colors for those segments. So when I'm talking to you here, I use basic gray text. But when I want to be here, I'll use blue.
And then if I want to be on a green screen, I'll use mint text for some reason. And then I have two more gimmicky text colors. We have yellow and purple. I use yellow for stuff like stage directions, so like that bomb gag from earlier, well, I would just say, throw bomb out window.
Right, so that's enough about how I write. I think it's time I give you tips about how you can write. For starters, synonyms. Synonyms are the key to making you not sound repetitive as hell. Let's use the Shovel Knight video as an example again. There's this one part of the video where I use the phrase, this game, 6 goddamn times in a row. How I could have prevented this flub is by using synonyms. Instead of saying this game that many times, how about Shovel Knight? Or maybe, geez, I don't know, write it differently to where I wouldn't have to specify what I was talking about nearly every sentence. That's something you should shouldn't be scared to do. Go back and rewrite what you've written. You're bound to have messed up somewhere, more specifically have wanted to do more of what you've already said. Going back to my Has-Been Hotel video, I added like a billion new parts to that thing. Not just going back and changing stuff I thought could make better, but adding new stuff I think needed to be said. What I typically do when I want to add stuff like that is, instead of going back and adding that random part to a pre-existing script, I'll go into a Discord server that only I am in, and write it down so I can see it on my PC later, and then very easily adding it into everything else, without the worry of messing up what's already on paper. But like everything, writing is a form of art. Writing is a skill, so if you want to become really good at it, just do it like a whole bunch. Play-Doh. You won't be good when you start out, those are just the facts. I fully believe I'll be looking back next year at this video and scoffing, thinking what I could have done better. And honestly, good. So yeah, to summarize, if you have to say the same thing a lot, try to keep it varied, and don't be afraid to go back and change things. Also, just write as much as possible. Speaking of which, I'm gonna go back and change something right now. And that's one of the most important steps I had forgotten about. Actually coming up with the ideas. Finding inspiration is a bitch and I hate it. This is definitely the thing that has held me up on content creation the most. I'll be sitting there wanting to make, dear God, anything, and just nothing comes to mind. This is a perfect time to do some grave robbery and show you one of the many folders I keep inside my notes app. Welcome to the graveyard. During the in-betweens of finishing a video and coming up with the next one, I'll often have my brain flip through a billion different ideas of what I could do next. But a lot of the time I end up not being very passionate about a lot of them. Hell, most of the videos I do end up making are the ones I think of on a whim. A real light bulb over the head moment kind of deal. A lot of the bigger ones are usually premeditated and I plan out ahead of time, and a lot of other times they just aren't. The red versus blue video, my most popular video, my longest video to date, was made up on a whim. It was a video I had been wanting to make for a very long time, but I just never had, until I saw Rooster Teeth had shut down and decided it would be the perfect time to go ahead and of course, as I finished the script for the video, which was around 54,000 words, new red versus blue stuff came out after 4 years of nothing because I was meant to suffer. For me personally, inspiration is like lightning in a bottle. It either hits or it doesn't. I have yet to make a video about something I'm not very passionate about. It's either the idea hits me and I immediately want to do something with it, or it doesn't and I don't do anything with it. If you're feeling bad about coming up with inspiration, here's all of my scripts I've left at I. There's one about the indie game Pepper Grinder, one about a different indie game called Axolotl, 3 different failed scripts about VR. It takes a while before I find a topic I'm really pumped to talk about. And even if I do want to talk about it, a lot of the time I just don't know how to formulate what I want to say, so I end up saying nothing and moving on. Like, I started scripting a video about Punch-Out for the Wii, which I still very much want to make a video about, but I kind of lost the drive to make it early on, because I really wasn't passionate about it when I started, so I just scrapped it and moved on. I'll definitely come back to a lot of these forgotten videos, but that'll be for later when I actually have the drive to make something out of those concepts. For now, though, let them rest in peace. I think if there's one thing I struggle with the most when it's making videos, it's got to be inspiration. I'll seriously rack my brain for days just trying to think of anything and got zilch. That Has-Been Hotel video I keep calling back to, I thought of on a whim and made within 2 weeks. It kind of just comes and goes for me, and if I don't take advantage of it when I have it, it's gone forever. Doesn't being me sound fun? Right, I think I've spent enough time talking about writing and inspiration. I say we move on to the next step in my creative process, filming. If you had your eyes open about 15 seconds ago, you would have seen this set. This is where the magic happens, but it didn't just start with this one. I've cycled through quite a few in my time of doing YouTube. If you've been here for a little while, you probably remember the old treehouse setup. Yeah, this was fun. You see, we have this old treehouse platform in our backyard that we really never finished or turned into a treehouse, so it kind of just remains like this. So I figured I would turn it into a set, and kind of make it look all ramshackle. It worked, but it meant it couldn't film anything if it was raining, or too sunny, or cloudy, or windy, or... Yeah, okay, it was a bad idea. Got to say, it was much better than this. This is the old setup of mine. Nothing better than a couch and a bunch of random foam pads to make you look professional. It's not even a couch, it's a futon. I sleep there. Or at least I did, I'll explain that during the editing section. But this area is pretty much old news. Nowadays, I have this pretty nice, in my opinion, little wall that I operate from. Where is all of this, may you ask? Well, here it is. The context behind why this structure exists is frankly unimportant, but it was built for somebody else. Now it is mine. I do not live here, I just film here. We'll get to that part soon enough. But as a little set that only takes up like one wall in what is basically a storage shed, I think I could do a lot worse. I also have these little lights from a year ago. One of them broke, just ignore that there's only 3. I got these a while ago when my videos sucked for green screen footage, and now I just repurposed them as studio lights. They do the job, they're not all that special. What is all that special is the actual parts being filmed. Fans of the treehouse era, rejoice at me still having this chair. You see, I wanted to go for this kind of ramshackle, zero budget kind of look, so I wanted to make things look like they were being put on top of boxes, and I think it pulled it off decently well. There are cabinets underneath here, I just kind of enveloped them in cardboard. Usually right underneath my chair, sort of hidden by my legs, but not really, is my laptop. This is how I run all of the footage on the big screens and record my audio. Big tip if you want to do stuff like I do, have a camera recording you and a microphone separately, and then just sync over the audio tracks while editing.
Because if I didn't, I would sound like this.
But that's how I've made my setup. If you want to be on screen, how should you do it? As well as that microphone tip I just gave, I would also recommend getting a decently good camera. I think the one I have was like $200 or something, which is pretty pricey, but it's lasted me a pretty dang long time, so I think it's justifiable. You also should strive to have a unique setup, if nothing else. Everybody knows a YouTuber that just sits in front of a webcam and rambles about, I don't know, man, economics. So that's why me, personally, I like to spice up where and how I'm filming. Like living in an abandoned shack and using boxes to hold up talking points. But you can realistically do anything like this. Like that one time I was at a pool and spent 3 hours filming, and was really proud of that video, and it got 500 views. That was fun. If you're filming in real life, mix it up. Film in a water drain, do anything. You see, every YouTuber's got a niche. You can very easily categorize YouTubers of all shapes and sizes into different camps. Like just for discussion videos, there's PNG tubers, VTubers, people who animate themselves. There is a lot you can do, but from those broad categories, you can trickle down into doing whatever. Dedicating your content to a specific franchise, talking about really niche topics. You can do anything to set yourself apart from the crowd. And that's why I think where you are and what you're doing is so important. Like, I really don't think my little segments where I'm on camera would work quite as well if I had the same setup as like Moist Critical or something. Scene doesn't match the style, you know? So do your own thing. Experiment. It took me 3 tries to get something I'm happy with. And there's no doubt in my mind I'll change this eventually as well, so just try random stuff you think would be cool and make your videos look interesting. You don't even have to be physically there on camera, you can throw your own wacky twist in there that makes you stand out. Like Arlo puppeteers in all of his videos. Some Noodle videos bring a twist on the classic PNG tuber and makes his expressions and characters in real life on little cardboard sets. These aren't just ways that make you stand out, they're also expressions of who you are. It's a way of showing personality, where you are and how you're filming if you're on camera, or how your character looks and what kind of funny twists you can add if you're a faceless creator. Find your style and make it your own. As long as your style isn't like me from 1 year ago and you try to have lore in your videos with your identical clone of yourself from a different dimension or timeline, I don't really know. I don't think I'm all there mentally.
This is the part of the video where I talk about recording.
Why yes, if it isn't the bane of my existence. Earlier I said I wanted to be a YouTuber when I grew up, but what was stopping me back then? My voice. I thought I had the squeakiest, most unpleasant voice ever when I was younger. Like most children. And so I never tried. And then I tried and I realized nobody cares. Word of advice. Everybody thinks they sound bad. I doubt you will find a single person who isn't completely full of themselves that thinks they have a good voice. But as long as you talk with somewhat formality, nobody will care. And I mean that in the best way I can mean it. Things you can do to change how people hear your voice, though, is pronunciation and microphone quality. For most of my videos, I put on what people like to call the YouTuber voice. So for the rest of this segment, I'll be dropping that moniker and talking to you how I actually sound. Your delivery and how you enunciate words is going to be a big factor in if people want to listen to you. If you want to make videos as long as mine, you for sure are going to want to make it sound like you care. How I do it is by sitting up straight, trying to make myself mentally as formal as possible, and go. And if you're me, you're no doubt gonna trip over yourself while talking and not notice it. 2 ways you can get around that is by reading every line twice, which takes forever and I hate it, or option B, which I do, the lazy route. Read everything over. If you notice something sucks when you're listening to it, re-record it on the spot. For me, I can pretty easily slip into the dreaded voice, and my microphone is right next to where I edit everything. And if you're in the same situation, great. If you aren't, I'm sorry. Okay, that's enough of this. Also, this word of advice kind of just encompasses the last 3 things we've talked about, but I would probably use like a Google Doc or something for writing if I were anybody but me. If you're not like me, you definitely won't need all of this random text color, and you can transfer a Google Doc between platforms. Unlike Samsung Notes, which is stuck on my phone, so every time I want to record, I have to hold my phone in front of me like an idiot. I could switch, but I don't feel like it. I would rather complain. Of course, with recording comes recording software. Gazpacho1, what do you recommend I use?
Audacity.
And what do you use?
Please don't ask me that question.
I'm too stupid to figure out Audacity, okay? I use OBS. I use OBS to record audio. Sue me. Yeah, this isn't ideal. Audacity is free. It is better for recording audio. I need to get my head out of my ass. I am recording this very audio on OBS. Unfortunately, there's not as much advice I can give about recording besides saying, do it good. Same goes with the inspiration thing from earlier, so I just kind of moved on. So I'm going to swiftly move along to probably the biggest part of the content creation, the editing. This makes up the meat, the potatoes, the plate, the silverware, the table, and the floor of making videos. This is it, the most involved part of the process. might have hyped that up a bit. So you might be wondering where on earth I am right now. The last time I showed my setup, I was like, in a room. Well, no longer. At the point of time of me making this video, I live in a camper in the woods like the Unabomber if he was cool. Everything about it is largely unimportant except for this area right here. This is my setup where the magic happens. Like everybody who tries and overcompensates, I have a multi-monitor setup, but I can justify it, I swear. On the top monitor, I have the footage from the sequence that's being played out. On the left one, I have my timeline, and on the bottom one, I have pieces of footage and the footage of that footage. Longtime fans of the channel will be happy to hear that I still use the same shitty editing software I've had since the last time I made this video. I use this thing called VideoPad, and to be frank, it sucks. But you see, the thing is, it's cheap, it's a one-time fee, and I'm way too used to it to switch now. The only way I would recommend this is if you're first starting out and don't have a lot of money to support this hobby. I think the version I'm using was like $70, and I only had to pay it once. Now, if I'm saying it sucks so much, why don't I recommend an editing software over it? I don't know. I'm not equipped to answer that question or give advice in this field, so do your own research, I guess. Plato. I have only ever used one editing software my entire life, and it's this one. I guess that would make me not really equipped to answer the question of if it's bad or not because I only have this as a frame of reference. Shut up. Editing is where you can add all of your little specks of personality into your work. Should your videos be visually simple or complex? A lot of moving parts or very few? Do you need a background? If so, should it be moving? And how fast? And how bright or dark? All of those questions get asked and answered here, which also makes this by far the most time-consuming part of the creative process. Let's use my red versus blue video as an example, because I still remember these numbers. In all, that video took 70 days to make roughly. I had the script done in 23 days, the filming only around 2 days since I had to set up that new set since I switched to a new one during the tail end of that video, and I would say recording in total took about 5 days. I'm not exactly sure about that number for that one because how I tend to record is like doing 30 minutes of audio, then editing it down, then recording more. So let's just go with 5 since that's a good number. That equals to about 30 days of scripting, filming, and recording, and uploading since that didn't take much time either. Leaving 40 days of editing is our remainder. Yeah, editing takes a while, so I've gotten some pretty good cheats to help me whittle it down. One part of the editing process that took me forever is editing audio. As I said earlier, I have dyslexia, so whenever I go to record, I'm constantly stumbling and tripping over my words like a bumbling idiot. So I'll have a lot of different takes for the same sentence just because that's how my brain is. To alleviate some of that headache, I use Descript. You probably could have gathered from earlier in this video, but I'm pretty against AI, which isn't entirely true though. I'm against generative AI, which is that type of AI that generates images and replicas of people's voices. That's basically theft, and it steals art because the things it's stealing from have to come from somewhere, right? The type of AI I am not against is the ones that help create art. The ones that are being used as tools to create art, not really shitty tools that are trying to replace it. And Descript is one of those tool AIs that help art. With this little number, I can automatically remove retakes and shorten word gaps. So if there's a long time between me saying 2 lines, instead of me having to manually shorten that, it'll do it for me. The tier I use, I think, is like $30 a month, which might sound like a waste of money for something that doesn't seem like that big of a convenience, but here's a frame of reference for you. For me personally, I can record for about 20 minutes and then feed it into this thing, which will spit out 10 minutes of recording, cutting in half the amount of audio I would have had to edit otherwise, be it that shortening word gaps or just removing retakes. Half of the audio editing is cut out just like that. This isn't a cure-all though. It's a computer that is doing all of this, meaning it has no idea the meaning of tone, what actual words are supposed to sound like, what's supposed to be a joke. Pretty much anything a human could pick up on, this thing doesn't most of the time. A lot of my videos have these gags in them where I pause for a certain amount of time, then say something else. So you get built up for one expectation, then after a long pause of nothing, I'll deliver a subversion of that. Which isn't the framework of every joke like that, but I'm going somewhere with this, just listen. Those gaps between words, the AI doesn't get is supposed to be funny, so it cuts that out and makes it sound like garbage. Now, if that was the extent of the problems with this, it would have been God's gift to editing kind. But it's not, for you see, it's also stupid. I'll throw it into this part of the video if it happens when I'm editing this very audio, but a lot of times when I fumble over my words, then correct it next time, it doesn't actually understand that I was fumbling over the first time because it understands somewhat what I said, and it'll combine the bad take with the good take, meaning it sounds like a mess. And then other times it just messes up for no reason. I have no idea what could have caused it. You probably could have gathered from earlier in this video, but I'm pretty against AI, which isn't entirely true though. I'm against AI, which is that type of AI that generates. This isn't a cure-all though. Now everything I make has a Mother 3 battle background, so if you want to make something entirely your own, find your own. I still have to edit my audio using Descript, but it basically boils down to letting it play out out, then correcting mistakes when I find them. The only caveat to this is if you don't want limits for what you can do in the software, you have to cough up $30 a month, which might not be possible for a lot of you. There is a hobbyist option here, which you can get instead, which is about $20, but it'll limit you to how much you can use per month, so it's really not the most ideal. But all in all, if you have the green, it's an extremely useful tool. Now at this point where I'll have my audio edited, it's time to add visuals, as well as throwing in whatever footage needs to go where, like the bomb being thrown out the window example again. In all of my modern videos, I have this fun little background and border that goes alongside the footage, which I think looks really nice. There are plenty of YouTubers who do something similar to this, but I'm pretty sure the way I do it is solely mine. It's funny because putting all my footage at 84% scale and slapping a white outline around it was originally just for the red versus blue video to make sure it didn't get blocked. Kind of a way to go around the copyright protection, which not only didn't work and that video got demonetized, but also it really sticks out and has its own style, so I kind of just ran with it. Now everything I make has a Mother 3 battle background, footage dead center, and this weird little border I whipped up in like 5 minutes. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think I've ever gotten feedback on what this really looks like, so if you think it looks good, tell me it looks good. And if you want your videos to look undistinguishable to you, then I say you should do the same. Make your own videos look zany and like something only you could have made. I think the best example of this is Scott the Waz's blue border. In all of his videos, he has this same little blue border outline around everything that goes on. I have no idea what the reasoning for it was, but I'll be damned if it wasn't genius. If I put a blue border around anything, people are gonna go, oh, that's Scott the Waz. This is because the blue border is a part of his identity. You can't remove the blue border from his image. So if you want to make something that's entirely your own, find your blue border. Like one of my YouTuber friends, Amazonin66, has a CRT aesthetic to all of his videos, which is just gorgeous looking. All of his thumbnails keep in this style too, it's beautiful. Keep in mind though, no matter what you come up with or what you choose, there's definitely equivalent to it on this platform. The platform of YouTube has been around for 18 years. No matter how you choose to style, there's an equivalent, no doubt. It's in the slight differences that make them your own though. I'll use myself as a comparison for this one. When I started out, I was nothing more than a poor man's Scott the Waz. But as I got better at my craft and defined my style more, I've branched out considerably from him. Of course there's still traces of his style in here, like me having occasional IRL segments. But at least nowadays, I would consider myself pretty separated from how he makes videos. And not even he is solely unique. You can trace his style back to shit like the Nostalgia Critic. Nobody is entirely unique, and the second somebody is, people are gonna claim that style for themselves and oversaturate it. Hell, I'm not even unique. Even with my visual style, the YouTuber Rock has had an extremely similar one since February, predating even the inception of the first time I started doing something similar. I'm not trying to say I stole from them. I came up with this style on my own, just trying to avoid copyright. It's just that it looks pretty dang close. Like overlaying the footage, dear God. Don't force yourself to be creative, because 9 times out of 10, you're just going to be an imitation of somebody else you like. And like every other topic in this video, you just need to do it a lot, and eventually you'll stand out. Okay, you've come up with an idea. Written out a script you think is pretty good. Filmed all of the necessary footage, recorded all of your audio, and now edited it into a complete video. 7 views. It's now time to upload, and this is objectively where the most important parts of the entire process lie. If we're talking about it from an artistic perspective, I would probably say editing and scripting are the most important bits, but if you actually want people to see your stuff, then this is it. Your title, thumbnail, topic, and video length, from what I can find, are the key factors in the video being a success. You see, people are more inclined to click on videos from the outset that already seem agreeable. You're less likely to capture an audience if you're just dunking on stuff people really like. For example, my Mario Sunshine video wasn't too well received because a lot of people love that game, but my Has-Been Hotel video was received well because a lot of people are already inclined to agree with me from the outset. Even though both of them were negative in tone, the Has-Been Hotel video was more approachable because most people share that opinion. It might have also been that the thumbnail for the Mario Sunshine video kind of sucked. It might have been that too. Most of my thumbnails nowadays are fully drawn little art pieces encapsulating something about the topic at hand. But you can't just take thumbnails in a vacuum. The thumbnail and the title both need to play off each other in one way or another. They don't work individually, instead serve to complement one another. Like my Has-Been Hotel video again. The title is about my mixed feelings on the show, and the thumbnail has 2 characters from the show converted into an angel and devil on both of my shoulders, playing off the angel and devil concept that already exists in a lot of media, but also to demonstrate my mixed feelings like I say in the title, with one side showing bad and the other side showing good. Boom, it's perfect. In the Mario Sunshine one, I kinda just covered Mario's eyes like one of those videos calling people predators or something. Yeah, I couldn't really think of anything better, and I'd probably say it's part of the reason that video video flopped, also being controversial just by its nature. But more on these thumbnails, I commission artists 9 times out of 10 whenever I need a thumbnail, and I would like to tell you a probably relatable story if you've ever wanted to commission art. Back when I was much smaller than I am now, I wanted to have a thumbnail drawn for this video. It was a video about how I would change Smash Brothers characters for the next Smash Bros game, and specifically I wanted Lucario to be holding what he has in the anime for Pokemon, his Bone Club. And when it came time to actually ask somebody to draw this for me, I was petrified by the concept of asking a stranger to do something for me and barking commands at them. So I didn't commission anything and just whipped up something in a photo editor that looked like ass. And if you've ever wanted to get somebody to draw for you, this story is probably very relatable. So here's a bit of advice from a seasoned art commissioner. This is their job. 9 times out of 10, if both of you are respectable, it will go fine. Swallow your fucking pride. People tend to say with a lot of stuff, oh, the worst they can say is no, which is frankly not true. But when it comes to trying to commission people, assuming you're not being an asshole, the worst they will say is no. Every artist has their limit to what they will draw, and as long as you respect that limit, they will respect you. Because you have to realize, they have everything to lose in this situation. Every random person jumping into their DMs is another person they have to maintain a public image with. If they start being a dickhead and one of their clients shows them acting like that, chances are they won't have any more clients commissioning them. So stop being shy and just do it. Literally every artist I've talked to and asked them to draw stuff for me has been really nice. So stop standing around and ask somebody to draw for you. It's literally their job. Title and thumbnail are everything when deciding if a video gets clicked on, but I think that's a small part of that thumbnail that a lot of creators tend to neglect when talking about this subject, and that's this itty bitty number in the bottom right. I think the timestamp on a lot of videos can make it do better just off of sheer length. Like, what would sound more appealing to you? Why Red vs. Blue deserves to be remembered with a 4.5 hour timestamp, or that same video with a 20-minute timestamp. I feel the longer video makes it come off across as being more in depth. Like the person relaying the information knows more about a given topic. Also, if you're in my niche, a lot of people like to turn on videos like this as background noise while they're doing other stuff, so giant timestamps are great for people like me. But don't take this as scripture, because not every video needs to be crazy long. My Shovel Knight video is 3 hours long and talks about 5/6/7 games as well as a board game, which in my mind justifies the timestamp. If it was, say, an hour, that doesn't really communicate like it's going to be anything too special, really only scratching the surface of any of the games I'm talking about. But if something like my Mario Sunshine video is 4 hours long, I feel like that would be incredibly bloated. You just need the right timestamp for just the right topics. Write that down. So now you're finally here. You've gone through all of this and you finally uploaded a video you're proud of. And it flops. It is so easy to get discouraged when a video you poured all of your energy into gets like 30 views, which was exactly how I felt around this time last year when creating my Enter the Gungeon video. I was feeling pretty discouraged by YouTube. A previous upload of mine where I talked about Sonic Frontiers flopped horribly, which was a huge bummer to me because 2 videos before that did really well for my standards at the time. So it felt like such a punch to the gut to get this 40-minute video out that I spent a solid month working on to get 30 views. So I decided if my Enter the Gungeon video got 1,000 views, I would keep going with YouTube. And if it didn't, I would stop and do something else in my life. So of course I immediately got that within like 2 weeks. The point I'm trying to get at is, it's very easy to look at other content creators doing much better than you number-wise and just think, what's the point? Content creation is very self-fulfilling, but when you have nobody to share them with, it kind of loses a lot of that. So here's my advice. When one video knocks you down, get back up with another one. People tend to use the word algorithm on YouTube like it's some big scary beast operating in the shadows deciding if you get to eat that day. And to be frank, I'm not even sure YouTube themselves know how it operates. And I'm not even going to try and pretend I know either. It can honestly feel like you're just bashing your head against the wall over and over trying to make something stick. Trying to get an audience, trying to get people who are interested in what you're making to listen. Trying to create, frankly, anything. It frankly stings pouring dozens of hours of effort into something you want people to enjoy and it just not happening. I've been doing YouTube for 3 years and over that time I have amassed over 3,000 subscribers, which to a lot of you who might just be here to watch me ramble might seem like a small number compared to other YouTubers you probably watch. Those other YouTubers probably having thousands or millions of subscribers, but getting here is not easy work. In the entire year of 2023, I'd only gotten 400 new subs to my channel, which to a lot of you is like nothing, and it's hard to not not feel like it isn't. But to all of the small creators on YouTube watching, or future small creators, I want to tell you something. I want to tell you that you're going to make it. And even if you don't, there's still going to be a lot of people who enjoy what you make. Even if it might not seem like it, there's going to be at least one person who's loved what you made. Honestly, that's kind of why I like talking about obscure topics on my channel. It's just so people who are a part of those small fan bases can feel recognized. They can go, hey, somebody actually cares about what I like. And it's such a good feeling to have those one or two people just really love what you made. Even if it's not a lot of people, it's a person. And that's enough for me. So you want to know the second best piece of advice I can give you? Keep your chin up. You'll find your audience eventually. And if you don't, at least for me, content creation is just really fun. In what other medium could I talk about red versus blue for 4 hours, you know? It gets rough, and at times it really feels like you're getting beat down on, but if you just keep an high spirits and keep moving forward, you'll find a reason to keep making videos eventually. Anyway, do this video over and over again until you eventually roll the dice just right and get the notoriety you want. Hey, this is a fun part of the creative process I didn't discuss. Outros are tricky, aren't they? I mean, I used to have consistent ones, but I've kind of started doing whatever in a lot of my more recent stuff. Like, a few uploads ago, I made a Silver Spoons parody of all things. You know, I used to have this really nice Sonic Mania styled one, which I still stand by looking pretty good, if not a little outdated. And I just don't really know why I did that one to begin with, if I'm gonna be honest. Like, I'm not a Sonic channel. I don't really know what the purpose there was. But hey, if you want my advice on how to do a good outro, it's